Good evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at WCNC. Welcome to Live Impact Weather. We've got a little bit of breaking weather news. It's a little bit of news and weather combined here. We've had some slow-moving storms in parts of the North Carolina mountains and Tennessee, and what you're seeing on your screen right now is a flash flood warning, which is for parts of what is Coke County, I believe, is the pronunciation there. I don't think it's Cook, but it's C-O-C-K-E, which is the county just on the other side of the North Carolina border. And what you're looking at above me is a mudslide and flooding on Interstate 40 near that area, exit 451, I believe. So it's the last exit literally coming out of Tennessee. It has shut down Interstate 40 between Tennessee and North Carolina. You can see several cars are trapped. There's actually water rescues going on. And while that looks like super muddy water, it's a little bit of mud, rocks, and water. So it's not just water. There was a slow-moving thunderstorm that was moving through this area. It caused a flash flood, which brought a debris flow onto the interstate. And if you're familiar with this area, this is past the area that was impacted by Helene. That's the area that is now open just one lane in each direction at 35 miles per hour. This is just past that as you go into Tennessee. So it's a really bad spot because if you've driven through the Smoky Mountains on Interstate 40, once you get on 40, there's not a lot of places to pull off or go anywhere. So this is backing up traffic pretty far into North Carolina and Tennessee. So if you're traveling in this direction or you have friends or family, tell them to avoid this area completely. So this area right on the state line at Interstate 40, this is unfortunately an area that was heavily impacted by Helene as well. You can actually see some of the barricades and some of the cones there, the barrels, probably due to some of the recovery efforts still ongoing from Helene. So the video you're seeing is from Tennessee DOT, which one of their employees is in that area. They shot video. You see from the video as well, the other thing that strikes me from this, it's completely sunny. So the storm has clearly moved on, but it dumped some really heavy rain. I want to look at the rainfall estimates in that area. So on the mountain here, just on the other side of the interstate, it looks like, let me get my cursor here and we'll kind of show you some of the totals. It looks like on the side of the mountain there was maybe 2 to 3 inches of rain in a short period of time, and it rushed right down the mountain there and took a debris flow with it. So
and it's so localized, too.
Yeah. It's
a couple miles one direction or another. It could have been different.
I mean, when we look at the radar, so I'll pull up the radar again in this area, you'll see, again, I can actually pull up the Morristown radar here. I'm going to add it to our mix here just to give you an idea. There's not much going on, except for there is another storm approaching from the west. So let me go back a couple hours. What I'm going to do, it might take a second to load here, James, as I'm talking, but the data will load, and we'll go back and see what this storm looked like. I'll loop it a couple times as the new data comes in. But again, the reason we're bringing this, a lot of folks, I mean, if you go over to Gatlinburg or Dollywood or Sevierville, which is a very popular summer destination, you thought, man, 40's just opening after Helene. We got that 2 lanes open. This is going to cause major havoc because there is no easy way to get around, as we learned during Helene. So let me see if I can loop this.
This is like reopening a wound.
Yeah.
Like you had a wound, it started to heal, and you accidentally ripped it open again because this is such a sore, sensitive subject in a very vulnerable place that does not want to see scenes like this.
Yeah. So it looks like 3:30 to 4 o'clock, there was a bunch of lightning there. And my radar data is still loading. It's actually pulling it from the cloud. But if you look right here, this was around 4:13. You see all the lightning strikes over that area. That looks to me when the storm was actually sitting over that area. So we're actually pulling that data right now. But the lightning already came up. So around 4 o'clock, and you could see it moved out fairly quickly. And then we went right back to sunny skies. So that's a lot of water in a short period of time. In a mountainous area. And again, they've seen rain like us. It's been like the same pattern everywhere across the southeast where we've seen tremendous amount of rain. So even though the totals may not jump off the map to you, the fact that it's fallen over the same areas repeatedly will kind of tell you. So you can kind of see that storm. You can actually see it as it moved out right here. This is what it looked like when it moved into North Carolina. Okay, now it's starting to load a little bit there at a time.
Well, 1 or 2 inches of rain is what? That's what your lawn wants in a week?
Yeah, that's like a week's worth of rain. And it looks like here it fell, looking at where the storm is at 5:05, that happened in 30 minutes. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of rain in a short period of time. There it is. It's loading slowly but surely, but that's the storm. And guys, that's all it takes this time of year, especially in a mountainous terrain, to get one slow-moving tropical downpour like that that produces a ton of rain. So, again, for folks just tuning into it to the stream tonight, we've got this pretty significant impact from a flash flood and mudslide on Interstate 40. It's on the Tennessee side, so if you're looking for information from the North Carolina side, I'm sure they're going to start detouring people around this area. This is past the area that just opened. When did that open? Like 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's in the spring. It happened right around spring break time that we finally got Interstate 40 open after Helene. One lane in each direction on the westbound lanes, and you can only go 35 miles an hour through there. No trucks. So
Except for that one that's in the mudslide?
yeah, but that's probably somebody going towards there and getting off before that detour, because I do think there's a truck route around that area. But yeah, you do see one truck stuck. And by the way, that's on both sides of the interstate, so it's just not one side. It looks like both sides are flooded. You can see the exit sign in the background. That exit is actually 451. There's a still
I can
picture
pause
of that.
it.
Do you have the still picture, by the way?
I can get there.
I'm kind of curious because the still picture shows exactly that
There it
same
is.
picture, and it's essentially
Yeah, 451.
451. So that's the very last exit, I believe, before you get into North Carolina. So the way the exit numbers work, they start on one side of the state and go all the way across. So
This vantage point also shows us what I would call debris flow
yeah.
that's in that
So
water.
that's the picture, and yeah, you could see that. Yeah, it looks like muddy water, but you're right. There's a lot of debris there. So that's a pretty significant flash flood in that area. So again, we're seeing that on Interstate 40, but let me show you some of the storms that are popping up in our area, because we do have some storms. They're moving, thank goodness, across the foothills. Got some reports out of Lenoir, Caldwell County, some really heavy rain, but these are moving pretty quickly, so we don't expect flash flooding with these. But if they do go over the same area repeatedly, you definitely would be concerned about flash flooding. A lot of cloud to ground lightning in there. I'll widen this out. We're watching, like last night, remember we talked about those storms in Tennessee and down into Georgia? They impacted us yesterday, and exactly as we thought, between 10 and 11, but they fell apart. The wider view doesn't show as many storms down in Georgia, and the ones that are developing are falling apart. So a little bit of good news that we won't see a repeat of those big wind event we had in the upstate last night. I think at one point we had 66,000 people without power in the upstate. Was something like that? There was a lot of people without power in the upstate. 60 reports, 57 reports, I think, of wind damage. And so there was some significant wind with that system last night. Thankfully, it weakened as it got closer to the Piedmont of the Carolinas, but it still produced quite a bit of wind, especially in areas like Cleveland County, Rutherford County, Polk County. So tonight, we can look at the Futurecast, give you an idea of what we expect. Most of these storms we expect to calm down through the evening hours. As we go overnight, things dry out. Now, tomorrow is a really interesting day. I'll be completely transparent. Storm Prediction Center has us in a low to medium risk, but look at our Futurecast. There's not any storms in our area. So tomorrow is going to be one of those days where we may only see a handful of storms. When I mean a handful, maybe 3 or 4, but probably 2 or 3 of those is going to be severe. So if a storm can get going tomorrow, it's going to have the potential to produce damaging straight line winds. To me, the ingredients there are for what we call downbursts. We've got a pretty good downburst profile tomorrow. The thing I think we're lacking is there's a little bit of a capping inversion, and there's some drier air at the low and mid levels, which would preclude widespread storms. It just means the storms that get going are going to have the potential to be really strong or severe.